Hey, 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 good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, First of all, I want to apologize for the video feed yesterday, and because the internet there was a mess, I guess. I didn't know that until afterwards, and there were a lot of, breaks, and plus I was kind of all over the place and kind of a mess. I'm feeling amazing today. Um, Nothing like sleeping in your own bed, that's for sure. Um, you know, I just want to bring a little bit of clarity to what occurred over this last weekend, and Lord willing, I'll be able to do it without breaking out in tears. I was a emotional wreck yesterday, even driving back home. It was just something else. But Friday night, I did get to witness to a few transgenders and as well as a few drag queens. And for those of you who don't know the difference, transgenders are men who identify as women, and drag queens are men who usually identify as homosexual and just get dressed up in drag either for fun or for prostitution. Um, so I was speaking to a drag queen when these two kids kept walking by, and they were slowing down. They were listening to what I was saying, and I wasn't preaching. I didn't have a Bible in my hand. I wasn't reading scriptures. I was just being a witness and telling my story and giving my own background. And of course, these kids had a lot of mouth and a lot to say as they were walking away and stuff like that. And they never actually confronted me. They just kind of voiced their thoughts and feelings as they walked down the street and walked away. So, and when I say kids, I mean they had to be max 15, 16. They were babies, and they were very feminine and just very flamboyant and very open. There was no shame. It was all pride. And so after I was done talking to the drag queen, whose name is Andre, and actually I wasn't really done talking to him. He kind of got a client. The client pulled up and he jumped in the car and took off. So I was done. I was walking down the street and I saw the two kids running down the street, and I didn't really pay any attention because they were acting like fools, the whole time I saw them. But as they ran by me, I saw that the one had this huge can. It had to be like, I mean, it was big, and it looked like up in Maine they sell bear mace, and it comes in these big cans with this handle on the top. That's what it looked like, something big like that. And so as they ran by, they sprayed, and I must have been taking a deep breath just as they sprayed because I felt like I inhaled fire. And for for a short moment there, I thought I was going to lose my breath and not be able to get any air. um, I don't want to get into too many of those details because my mom worries enough, and I'm not going to repeat the whole story. Even though yesterday it was kind of all over the place, but I am going to tell you why this situation spoke multitudes to me, and why there was such a need, and why there was such a desire for me to go back out there Saturday evening, regardless of what had happened on Friday. See, many years ago, probably 20 years ago now, maybe even more, and I believe I spoke about this in the documentary. I know I've shared it many times with people, but many years ago, I remember when I was that teenage or in my young 20s, maybe, I don't know. I was standing on the corner, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was prostituting. And I remember these three Christians coming across the street, and they were focused on me. I put my hand in my bag and I said to them, if you speak to me, I'm going to gut you like a fish. They didn't speak to me. They went right to the next corner and talked to whoever was standing on that corner. So for years, I wondered, once I got saved, of course, for the last 10 years, I should say, I've wondered, what if they had spoke to me? What if they had shared the love of Jesus Christ with me? Would I have really cut them? What if they just would have talked to me regardless of what I said to them? Could I possibly have been saved another 20 years of suffering and torture? What? What if? I can't help but wonder what if. And so Saturday, see, when faced with a threat, we don't threaten them back. I mean, what kind of witness would it have been if that Christian would have said, yeah, well, if you pull out a knife, I'm going to blow your head off? That wouldn't have been a good witness. We don't attack them, but we don't run either. And when faced with a threat, we stand firm. For we have all power and we have all authority. And we have all this power and all this authority to speak life directly into these lost, broken individuals. We stand on solid ground. We stand on truth. What if those Christians 25 years ago had spoke to me anyway? We'll never know. But I do know that there was a powerful witness there on Saturday evening in Atlantic City because, listen, I was obedient and I went. Here I am, Lord, send me, right? That's my prayer. Lord, heal my unbelief. And here I am, Lord, send me. So I also understand that it wasn't wise for me to go alone. I know that. And I'll have to work on building a team that's actually going to be there for these events. But know this, I did pray on it, and I truly did feel led to go back out there regardless. It was a powerful witness. I thought about it. What if they're out there? Well, tonight, if they're out there, David, you're going to speak to them. I was hoping they were out there. I wanted to speak to them. I was reminded of a passage of scripture yesterday by a pastor, a brother, a man of God. In 2 Corinthians 11, I'm going to see if I can pull it up for everybody. Verse 23 through 29, Paul says, are they servants of Christ? I speak as if insane. I more so, in far more labors, in far more imprisonments, beaten times without number, often in danger of death. 5 times I received from the Jews 39 lashes. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. A day and a night I have spent in the deep. I have been on frequent journeys and dangers from rivers, dangers from robbers, dangers from my countrymen, dangers from the Gentiles, dangers in the city, dangers in the wilderness, dangers on the sea, dangers among false brethren. I have been in labor and hardship, through many sleepless nights and hunger and thirst, often without food and cold and exposure. Apart from such external things, there is the daily pressure on me of concern for all the churches. Who is weak without my being weak? Who is led into sin without my intense concern? See, that also reminded me of one of my life verses. Philippians 4, verse 11. Paul says, not that I speak from want. See, it's not about my wants or my needs. For I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I am in. He goes on to say, I know how to get along with humble means. And I also know how to live in prosperity. I could speak a whole lot right on that. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both of having abundance and suffering need. I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. Nevertheless, you have done well to share with me in my affliction. I say I can really speak on that. I've lived in shelters. A lot of people don't know about that. It's not like it's a secret. I don't hide it. I lived in a shelter in Orlando, Florida. I lived in a shelter in Boston. Slept in parks. Slept in doorways. Slept on cardboard slabs in the alley behind a dumpster. I've also been in the top penthouse in New York City. Some of the best hotels in the country. I've had nothing and I've had a lot. I didn't have everything until I had Jesus Christ. I can really speak on that. That is my life verse. I don't speak from my wants or needs. If I ever do speak about wants and needs, it's for the ministry to further the kingdom. I don't speak about mine. I truly have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I'm in, whatever situation I'm in. I can do ministry from anywhere. Look at Paul. Paul did ministry everywhere, even prison. Sometimes I think about something. Wow, you know what? There was so much time I spent in prison that if I was a man of God, the word would have been unleashed. Especially because of what I come from. It's Jesus Christ inside of me that makes any of this possible. Only He can grant me the strength and the will to go out into those streets. Only Jesus Christ in me can have me sitting there Saturday the entire day drinking milk, put her milk on my face, rags saturated with milk, laying them on my face to get rid of the sting and the redness and the burning in my eyes and my nose and my throat and my lips were on fire. But I also spent the entire day in prayer. Mostly in prayer for those two young boys that have been so indoctrinated, they've been so misled that they truly believe that pepper spraying someone who opposes them is the right thing to do. I spent Saturday crying and crying out to the Lord, interceding for those young boys and for all the ones that are being misled. They're being misled, misinformed, purposely being misdirected. The same people that God robed himself in flesh for and became the man Jesus Christ to be the propitiation for our sin. The very ones that are full of malice and anger and confusion and hatred. See, there's only one thing that can penetrate that wall. Only one thing can get in between those that are of the world and those that are in the world. And that's Jesus Christ. I was thinking about it last night. I'm thinking, what are we really doing? If we understand, if we truly believe that our commission is twofold, and I know I believe it, evangelize and disciple, evangelize and disciple. Can't have one without the other. If you're not gonna be evangelizing, then you can't disciple. If you're not gonna be discipling, then you shouldn't be out there evangelizing. Our call is to introduce the lost, the broken, the hurting, introduce them to Jesus Christ through our word, our deed, our action. Are we ministering to those who have no respect for authority? Are we ministering to those who are angry and they don't even know why they're angry? Are we ministering to everyone who rejects morals and values and discipline? Or are we just telling them that they're wrong and how they're going to hell? Are we out there tracking down the youth that are out there spraying people with mace who they disagree with? Are the youth that have no goals, no dreams? Some of them have no fathers, no mothers. They have no fears and no real education. Are we, church, and yes, I'm speaking to the body, I'm speaking to me, are we going out there and embracing them? The same people that are running around with the tattoos and the piercings, yeah, the same ones that we see in the store and shake our head and roll our eyes at. Are we going out there and embracing them? Are we on a mission? Are we on a mission to get out and speak to the ones who've lost their minds on illicit drugs and alcohol and perverted sexual behavior? Is that our mission? Are we on that mission? Are we afraid of these very children? That's what they are, they're children. Afraid of the very children that we're supposed to be disciplining? Our call Our call is to go out to those street corners and embrace those broken and lost individuals, the ones who don't think like us and don't even know that there's a way out of their darkness that they're trapped in. They don't have a clue that there's freedom. Our mission, our call, is to go get the children that are wearing their pants down around their knees, or even the ones that are wearing them too tight. You can't even imagine how they can even breathe in them. The same ones that they don't comb their hair, they just roll out of bed. They don't care what they look like. They got tattoos on their neck, on their face, and they believe that anybody who corrects them is a threat to their humanity. Those two boys that maced me, they heard enough. They heard enough to offend them and convict them so much that they had to react. They had to react and try to silence me. I threatened their very thoughts and feelings. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Only by the strength in me, which is He. See, our orders are to go out to these same neighborhoods, the ones that Planned Parenthood targets and the park that we call Needle Park, and we won't let our kids go there. Oh, don't go down that alleyway. That's where all the addicts hang out. That's where we're supposed to go. We're supposed to go down that alley where the addicts are hanging out. We're supposed to be down at the abortion mill. We're supposed to be at the LGBT pride parades. We're supposed to go down to that corner, that the one that they're selling drugs on and you avoid. Or when you pull up at the stop sign, you lock your doors and put your windows up. We're supposed to go to those corners and tell them as individuals that they are still loved, that they are still valuable, and that they could have the glory of God upon their life. Maybe we avoid our friends or our neighbors because, well, their daughter, she's tries to look like a boy, and well, maybe that's the one we're supposed to go speak to, that teenage girl who at 15 doesn't even want to be a girl, she wants to be a boy, and we're trying to find a way to avoid them when we should be trying to find a way to find the root of her confusion and letting her know that there really is freedom, that there's true happiness found elsewhere. What about the 16-year-old girl down the block from you that already has a baby and another one on the way and isn't married to either of the men that fathered her children? How many of us are speaking life directly into those young boys that are so broken and so confused? They don't even have a clue of who or what they are. How many of us go and tell them Jesus does love them and that it is okay to be broken, but it's not okay to remain that way? How many of us are hitting the streets at midnight where we know the young women and even the young men are out there selling and trading their bodies for profit or for drugs or alcohol, or some trading their bodies just to satisfy their own perverted lusts, the lusts of their flesh? Why aren't we out there in the streets grabbing a hold of these young men and these young women, telling them that there is more to their life than what the enemy is feeding them? They're listening to the enemy's party line of that they're born that way and that there's no way out, and that's who they are and that's what they are, and they have no self-worth. And it doesn't matter what the enemy is telling them, but how many of us are telling them that they are fearfully and wonderfully made? How many of us are telling them about the one who created them? Young men out there that think that their manhood is defined by a gun in their waistband, or that going to prison is a badge of honor? Are we out there trying to pour into them young people what has been poured into us ever so freely? Missions trips. You got a mission right here in your comfort zone. You don't have to go out at midnight down to the corner. You don't have to go to the park or the alley where all the addicts are. What about right in your own comfort zone? And by the way, a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. You have a ministry right at home, right within your own. Go get your nieces and your nephews, your godchildren and your neighbors' children, the ones that believe that they're gender fluid or non-binary, or they're identifying as something outside of God's good creation, and go tell them that God didn't create them that way. And then tell them how he did create them and for what purpose. See, a lot of us don't have a problem with telling them God didn't create them that way. But we don't want to tell them why God did create them, what their purpose is, and that they have a purpose. Agree with them. Yeah, you were born that way. You sure were. Jesus said, be born again. Give them purpose. We're not out there giving them hope, giving them life. We have the power and authority to speak life. And we don't do it. We don't introduce them to the one true living God, Jesus Christ, through our words and our deeds and our actions. Beloved, we are living in an age where 7-year-old little boys are being allowed to dress up like little girls. And they're being taken into bars and nightclubs to dance provocatively. We're living in a nation where children are being brainwashed and indoctrinated to believe that there is no God and that they can choose their own gender. And if they can choose their own gender, they're going to be able to choose their own sex partner regardless of their age. We live in a nation, for those of you who didn't know, where 8-year-olds can be placed on puberty blockers and hormone pills regardless of what their parents say, because we live in a nation where the state government says, well, if you don't allow your child to take these, then that's child abuse. And we're going to remove the child from the home and place them in an LGBT-friendly foster home. See, we live in a nation where bearded men are being allowed to dress up like demonic-looking women and go into our public libraries and our public schools to interact with your children and with your grandchildren. We live in a nation where babies are being slaughtered and murdered right in front of our very eyes in our own neighborhoods, right on our own college campuses. How can we be so blind? How can we be so blind to see that children are being exploited and sexualized, where babies are being targeted? Your grandchildren and your children are being preyed upon and raped and devoured and murdered. If they're not raping their bodies, they're raping their minds. And once they rape their minds, their bodies are next. Do we understand that God has made us to be rulers? We have become children of God. We have become joint heirs, not to be beneath, but to be above, unless you forgot that if it were not for the love of God, for the grace of our loving God, that you would be one of those children. If it were not for the grace of our loving God, that you could be standing out there on that corner, because I know I was. And because I was, there's a fire burning. There's a fire burning. I'm going to stay in my lane. God encourages me by allowing me to see fruit. When somebody that's lost and broken and hurting and damaged is introduced through Jesus to Jesus Christ through your words and your deeds and your actions, there is no one or no man or nobody, no nothing that can tell you how to do what Jesus Christ in you is doing. Remain encouraged. Lord willing, I'll see you on the morning. Peace.